In this video, I'd like to talk about some of the most common academic book review strategies that are out there. And having been a graduate student myself at one point and sort of an early career assistant professor, I know how difficult it can be to write a book review and to be able to come across in a way that is graceful and tactful, but also critical and insightful. And that's a really hard thing to accomplish. And so this video is in part for those people who are starting out on a career in academia and are having trouble thinking about the tone of a book review. But I think it's also for students who might not publish their own book reviews, but are often reading them for research and trying to figure out how to make sense of them in terms of what goes into them. My point in this video is going to be that there are sort of 5 common types of reviewers out there. And I think after this video, if you watch it all the way through, you're going to start seeing these 5 types more and more as you read book reviews. So we'll go through these fairly quickly. The first type is what I'd like to call the summarizer. And the summarizer is somebody who plays it very safe, somebody who doesn't want to make enemies in the profession, knows that these people might be at conferences in the future, and kind of steers a safe path. What the summarizer does is the summarizer takes full advantage of the typical structure of a book review. So in a typical book review, you have sort of your introduction, and the introduction has usually 3 components. It has the thesis of the author, not your own thesis so much, but sort of an explanation of what the author is arguing. It also gives some context, so it kind of says where the book fits in. And there's also usually some opinion about the book itself. So the reviewer is saying, well, this is what I think about the thesis and how it fits into the context. Then we obviously have a series of paragraphs that follow afterwards, in which the reviewer kind of outlines the different parts of the work and gives some opinion about those different parts and how they fit together. And then we have some conclusion in which the reviewer states his or her final opinions. What the summarizer does is the summarizer leaves out the opinion bit and simply tells you exactly what the book is about. But you know, this obviously can come across as pretty boring. What the summarizer does to avoid seeming like, well, what he's actually doing, which is just summarizing, we have all of these sort of fake opinion words like detailed and interesting and fascinating and new and so on. And these words are hiding the fact that there's no opinion whatsoever. So the summarizer just simply goes through the book and summarizes it for you, and that's all that happens. There are many book reviews out there like this. It's a good way to play it safe, and this is often what happens also when the book reviewer is not an expert in the field. When the book reviewer basically has picked up this copy, has no idea what to think about it, and so just sticks to summary. Number 2 is the sycophant. So the sycophant, I'll draw a picture of him here. He's got a smile from ear to ear. Okay, and he's always happy, he's always flattering. I tend to think of the sycophant as like, that song from the Lego movie. Everything is awesome when you're part of the team. When you're part of the team, you're going to praise everything that the book does. And so the sycophant will use a lot of phrases like, this enhances our understanding, this is brilliant, this is groundbreaking, right? And the sycophant only criticizes the externals. So only the externals of the book receive minor criticism. So those would be things like, whether the book has a dust jacket or, the odd spelling mistake or, the spelling of somebody's name in the work cited. Those kinds of things. They receive a little bit of criticism just so that the sycophant can say, well, I did do some criticism, but for the most part, this is just simply flattery. Thirdly, we have what I like to think of as the Sandwigh Artist. And let me explain what I mean by this. I'll draw a little picture of him here as well. He's a little bit ambivalent. What the Sandwigh Artist does is, like the summarizer, he or she makes use of the structure of the review. So we have that introduction and we have that conclusion. What the Sandwigh Artist does is, if you think of these as like the pieces of bread, okay, very nutritious bread, The Sandwigh Artist basically sticks all the criticism in the middle. And so, as a colleague of mine once said, this is what's called, and this is a bit crude, this is a shit sandwich. In other words, everything in the middle stinks, right? It's lots of smell coming from there. But everything at the beginning and the end is positive. Put a P there. So what you're going to see a lot in this kind of introduction is phrases like, with some reservations in general and so on. And then at the end, these objections aside, or these minor quibbles aside, I can definitely praise this book. Fantastic book. But everything in between is, this book is crap. So I think this is a clever strategy to some extent to sort of package it in this nice format where it looks like it's a positive review, but the middle is all criticism. It seems like a good strategy, but I think many people will see through it. They see that that last paragraph and the first paragraph, these are not genuine statements of praise. They're merely there to kind of hide the fact that the artist is too afraid to come out boldly and say that he or she disliked the book. Okay, then we have the honest yet tactful appraiser. I'll change color here because this is the one I like. This is what I would recommend that you do. So we'll just give him a happy face. There you go. Generally happy. And this is a reviewer who is honest, but also tactful. So this is a reviewer who sees some good in the book, sometimes some bad. Doesn't nitpick excessively. So no nitpicking. And I think that's really crucial. Sure, you might have more to say, but you're not going to say every single thing that you found that was bad about the book, right? You can make a long list, but just select a few things as examples and leave the rest for the reader to find out. Focus more on the positives. Focus on what you found good about the book. And this is something that career academics really struggle with early on in their career, and I certainly can speak to this as well, having been through this process. You want to stand out, you want to show how clever you are, and so the risk is always that you're going to do that by putting other people down. And that's not really what reviews have to be about. I think what you should really focus on is genuine interest. So if you went into academia because you wanted to do research, then surely that suggests that you're actually interested in the topic. So as much as possible, try to review books that you think might match your interests, that are going to be interesting for you, that you're going to learn from, and then express that. Be excited about the process of learning. Okay? There is a danger here, though, and I've seen this one as well. Sometimes people are so excited about a new book that they start to have this whole conversation with the author about, where this could lead and how this ties into other research and so on. And that's good and well, and it's interesting, but if it goes too far, then it leads away from the actual review. Often the reader just wants to know, is this a good book? Is it something beneficial? They don't need to have this whole extended discussion about a particular topic that is of interest to the reviewer. So just be careful with that. And then the last one is the scornful pedant, the spiteful pedant. We'll use some red here to draw him. Well, maybe that's not quite dark enough. Okay, so we'll give him a scowl. Okay. He is not happy. And this is somebody who has nothing good to say. This is sometimes a very experienced academic who has his little piece of, this field of research and is guarding it against anybody who tries to enter it. And anybody who wants to make a claim has to sort of pass through the gauntlet of this particular reviewer. This reviewer can often be very personal, can be a little bit extreme in his or her views, and tends to nitpick a lot. So watch out for that. Try to stay with number 4, the honest yet tactful appraiser, and also avoid these other kind of lesser types of review strategies. You may want to play it safe, but ultimately it's better to be honest and tactful. That's it for how to review an academic book.